So in this area, what I want to do is take you through an overview of what the subject content, the specification content involves. So what will I learn on this course? The first thing, an absolutely crucial thing, is that we are going to be looking at excellent subject knowledge. We're going to develop the subject knowledge so that you have a really comprehensive, thorough understanding, great knowledge and understanding of the content of the specification. All the research points to the fact that if teachers know their stuff, then the students are going to do better. So we need to make sure that we cover all areas, and I'll explain that a little bit later as well, because comprehensive coverage of the specification is really, really important for the students when they do this assessment, and therefore it's absolutely crucial. It's a foundation, it's fundamental that we as teachers also have that really thorough, comprehensive knowledge of the specification. So obviously, as you would expect, we're going to spend considerable time doing that. The second one we're going to be looking at is the assessment itself. What does it look like? How is it structured? How are the marks divided up? What sort of time allocation is required for each one of those sections, and what is required by the students? And that's really, really, really crucial. What do they have to do? So it's important for us as teachers, for you to have that familiarity of not just the subject content, this is what Unit 22 is all about, but also how you're going to be able to coach your students how to tackle this assessment really, really well. And with that, to help us with that and to help your students with that, we're going to be looking at the assessment as well in terms of the way in which the mark scheme is structured and how the assessment is marked. Now, the great news is, on the one hand, is that the mark scheme itself does not change. The way in which the assessment is marked and the way in which they create their rubric, and we'll look at it obviously in more detail in terms of traits and bands, etc., and this will all become clear to you in due course, and how they mark stays the same. And that's great for us because we as teachers can show, if you like, the back end to the students of how this is assessed and what the examiners will be doing, and we can make sure that the students tailor their responses in line with the mark scheme. So we'll spend significant time on the way in which the assessment is marked to help your students do the very best they can in that area, obviously. And then the fourth point is, as we go through, this isn't going to be a separate point on its own at the end, but we're going to be weaving in some teaching tips. I'm going to give you some ideas that have worked for me and my colleagues, and plenty of resources, worksheets, etc., that I hope will be useful for you. And there will be an emphasis on digital learning. So don't worry if you haven't got a one-to-one or devices in your school yet. That is something which you might want to be able to think about if and when the time comes. But for those of you who are teaching with one-to-one devices, or there is the capacity for digital learning, I will be giving you plenty of ideas and resources as well, which lend themselves really well for digital. So let's hope that by the time, a couple of years time, whatever, we're all in a position where we're using digital. But that will be a kind of focus as well on what we're doing.